Are you ready to come with us on a journey, everybody, to visit the continent of Trench, maybe the island of Voltsoy, swim the Paladin Strait, maybe even enter Dima? That'll all make sense on this episode of 1 Hour, 1 Brain Cell. You know, for the last couple episodes, we were joking about how we had no themes on our show and how we were just smorgasbording together an hour's worth of content with a bunch of random stuff. Not this week, everybody. This week we have something important planned, much like our Taylor Swift Tortured Poets deep dive from a month ago. We got a deep dive for you today, ladies and gentlemen. And so much so, in fact, Jordan and I are somewhat matching in our takeover tour merch because we have a brand new 21 Pilots album to discuss because we had the debut of Clancy this week. I forgot to bring my prop. I have a prop out in my living room I was going to bring with me, but it's not. I don't have it with me. Anyway,
it was the vinyl, wasn't it?
it was the vinyl. So
Yeah.
please welcome to the show, everybody. I'm joined by my co-host Jordan, who I believe let's see if I remember correctly, has seen the Pilots at least 7 times.
Yeah, you're spot on. It's 7. It's 7. It will be 9 at the end of this current tour cycle, which is absolutely insane. And whenever he gets back, I can do Richie's intro. He's off scavenging. There he is. He's off scavenging for his prop. Look at that. Did you already sleeve it too?
I did, yeah.
I'm so proud. Oh my goodness. He's learning. Guys, he's learning how to take care of his vinyls.
I know, yeah.
Let's
I did it
go.
as soon as I bought it. So I have a quick story about this. Well, actually, do my
Yeah.
intro real quick and then I'll explain it. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. I'm joined by one half of our FPE, your favorite podcast ever, Richie Flores.
Yeah, so I had to go on a little scavenger hunt to find this because I had ordered it through the Target app to go pick up at my Target, which is right across the street from me. Because I got off work at like 4:30 or whatever, and I knew by the time I got to there, they probably wouldn't have it. So I was like, okay, well, if I order it now, they'll have it ready for me. Problem is, when they finished the order, they said they were already out of stock. So
Oh,
I had to make a change of plans and change this pickup store on Friday night at like 7:30. Turns out, an hour and a half later, they had it ready for me, and I was able to go pick it up at a different Target that I had to drive 10 minutes away to go get. So I got it on release day from Target. This is the Target exclusive, and it's it's red.
it's red. All right.
Yeah.
Mine is still in shipping, so I don't have my prop here. We can just imagine my prop, but I ordered the black and red splatter off of their web store. I'm excited to see what that looks like, and fingers crossed, but it looks like it's going to come Tuesday. So pretty quick turnaround on shipping from a Friday release to a Monday, Tuesday delivery. So well done by the merch team there. We've both experienced our vinyls being stuck in Fern Hell, Michigan, with Taylor Swift. So this is much better.
Yeah, I didn't order mine online because I knew I had some Target money saved up, so I got it for like I sent you $17. Yes,
that's nice. That's well done.
Yes, indeed.
Target Circle Rewards. We're not sponsored, but it is kind of cool.
Exactly. As much as I shop there, it's genius. So I was able to pick up Clancy for $17. I haven't actually spun it yet because, like I said, by the time I got it, it was 9:00 at night, and I was like, I don't need to. I need to spin it yet. I haven't got around to doing it, but I will eventually.
Mhm.
And
It's
actually
a
give it.
it's a crisp 47-minute album front to back. Like we're getting
Hmm.
we're in it. You're in and out. You're done with it. I was
Hmm.
listening to it yesterday. I was kind of driving around and just realized that I had made it through all the tracks. And I was like, "Oh, that's kind of refreshing to not have, 2 hours of material to get through." But that's not shade on Mother Taylor, by the way. We love a double album release, but
Hmm.
between this one and like Billy's latest record, I'm kind of enjoying getting back in the groove of just having a normal runtime track.
It's so good. It's so great. And I was actually thinking about that yesterday because I was like, first of all, we are in like the year of just terrific music because I feel like every couple of weeks there's another new release coming out that's like becomes our new obsession. And I was thinking about that idea of how to ingest music the best because Taylor put her album out just over a month ago, and I felt like I finally got around to like digesting the original, 13 tracks or whatever, right? On the
Mhm.
original release. And then by the time I got around to doing that, oh, here's Billy's new record. And then a week later, the pilot's new record. It's like I haven't had a chance to digest all 31 tracks. So thank you, Billy. Thank you, Tyler and Josh, for creating an album that is actually digestible and is terrific front to back with no skips.
Mhm. Yeah, I we are also lucky because the Billy album and the Pilots record almost released on the same day,
Oh yeah.
and that would have been an absolute dogfight, on the charts and for the radio play and for the fans and people that are fans of both things like us, but, uh, yeah, that was crazy. So the 21 Pilots release pushed a week. They had a cool live stream, which I'm sure we'll talk about, Thursday night at essentially midnight my time, 9 your time, uh, that went through, all of the tracks and the accompanying music videos, and that's another reason I'm glad that they kept it to, like, a 47-minute album because I was not trying to stay awake any longer than that. They were dragging too, though. It was, like, in the pajamas, with the sleeping bag, with the snacks, being like, "Can we wrap this up? Because 'Cause I'm tired and it's, like, 1:30 AM Ohio time."
That live stream was great. That just proved to me that Tyler and Josh are very similar to you and I because in the types of vibes they bring because Josh was just being his typical self where he was just bringing a completely different snack every time he was on camera.
Mhm. He's like, "Do you want cookies? I'm gonna go make cookies." And just every time he was on screen, there was a different snack in front of him. We ended up getting all of them on the table at once at the end, which was a little overwhelming, but he was very prepared. I saw a tweet that was like Debbie going into the pantry to find it empty while Josh is at a sleepover at Tyler's house. Like, yeah, they're the most unserious duo outside of maybe you and I. So we
Yes.
relate really well to those two jokers.
Tyler also had a gigantic wall of Red Bull behind him as well, which
He does.
we
He's
can
got
also
he's got
relate to.
custom Red Bull shelves. Yeah, cheers. Um, I want to say I he talked about this before. I want to say it's like there's different cans from, like, the places that they've traveled on
Yep,
tour or something.
that's
It's just,
exactly
like,
it. Hmm.
there's a particular collection that he has back there. He's also got, like, some Taco Bell signs in that room that I think I've seen. It was, like, fully redesigned, a couple years ago when he and Jenna moved in, and they gave him, like a studio space kinda thing. But really cool.
Well, all right. Well, where
Okay.
do you want to begin with this record? There's a lot to get into. So we have lore
There's
to get
just yeah.
into. We have
Mhm.
favorite tracks to get into. We have the music videos to get into. We have theory corner to get into. We have so much, so much.
I guess let's ease people into the lore, not super in depth, but let's ease people into this for those that are just joining for this album cycle that haven't been around as long as we have, or those that are not caught up fully on the trilogy, shall we call it, of Trench, Scaled, and Icy, Clancy. You want to lead?
I will try my best to do so. And
Yeah.
then you can fill in the gaps here. Okay, so
Okay.
2015, when Blurryface was released, right? Blurryface was the beginning of this kind of long form story
That's
that
true.
Tyler and Josh have been telling around a character named Clancy, and it takes place in a fictional um, place called Trench, which is why they called their album Trench. And so Clancy is the cherry on top, allegedly, of this entire story that's been going on since then. And it involves there are Clancy's like the main character. We also have he's the main character, the protagonist. The antagonists are a group of 9 bishops who live in the city of Dima on the continent of Trench.
Okay. Yep. Well done. I'm with you so far.
And so they've been telling this story with Clancy, the bishops, and Dima for the last 10 years, and this is kind of the cap on everything. That's a very like layman's level explanation.
That's very broad spectrum, but that's okay. Like you don't even Richie and I think are a little out of loop on the lore, more so than maybe some of the chronically online individuals that are fans that got into the band in the last couple of years and like really dug into it. I remember back when Trench first came out and like I guess pandemic as well then when Level of Concern came out, but there were some like online codes and puzzles and things which like as a Swiftie we are not a stranger to doing so. But there were things hidden in website source codes and they had sort of the own alphabet and stuff like that where we could crack it open and find these files about Trench and the lore about Trench. And some of those things that first came out in like what year was Trench? Like 2018? Best guess?
2018. Yes, that sounds right.
That feels right. About 2018 was when the Dima.org website first appeared, and then that connection to 21 Pilots appeared through some people finding traces of it on the internet. And what was published originally were these letters that were out there that were sort of describing the story and the lore behind the album, and they were written by someone who signed off on them as Clancy. So that was like our first introduction to Clancy as a character. Up until that point, we didn't really have too much lore through the first, I wanted to say 4 albums, but I guess it's 3 and an EP. But then sort of this story arc started back then with some of the Clancy letters. We got more Clancy letters in this album cycle. I don't know if we want to go too deep in. There's people on TikTok, Twitter, Instagram that have probably YouTube as well that have done better, bigger deep dives into this if you're interested in the lore in that way. But we maybe had a shift in narrative in who Clancy is. There was the live stream experience that happened in 2021 with the 2021 with the Scaled and Icy release, that had a bunch of other little lore and story tidbits and things like that. So all this is really connected and has been going on for a long, long time. And like Richie said, this is sort of the conclusion of the arc, as it were, although you could argue it's not based on the last track, and we'll get into that. But yeah, very briefly for the people, there's a huge interconnected story here. So if you like albums with a narrative, go and do a little deep dive. It'll probably take you, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes to kind of get caught up on where we are right now.
It'll take you 4 hours worth of a video.
Yeah, that's true. If you go back and listen to all the albums in order, and then that's so much time commitment.
They actually, I would recommend the band put out a recap video prior to the release of this album cycle that actually explains it really, really well. So It's called I
That's
Am
fair.
Clancy. I'd recommend go watching that, and it explains everything.
Mhm. All right, where do we start?
All right. Well, we usually do this. We usually do this. Like, how did you first listen? Like when we were talking about Billy Taylor, we were like, okay, well, how did you first experience listening to it? So let's start there,
Mhm.
which is that both of us did the exact same way, which is we both decided to watch the premieres of the music videos via the live stream rather than going straight to our phones and playing it that way, which I actually liked it that way,
Mhm.
because we got a little like explanation in between tracks from Tyler and Josh, which was and some tidbits and stuff like that that we wouldn't have gotten if we just would have listened to it straight through.
Yeah, it felt very connected with the story they were trying to tell, with everybody experiencing this all at once. Um, I don't know, it gave shades of what that live stream experience was back in 2021 when things were still really restricted for COVID, but it just sort of, I don't know, brought everybody together into a common point with where we were telling the story and let them give insights on what they were trying to say, what it was going to look like, how it was going to go. Um, and obviously let them kind of screw around with us a little bit. Like the absolute outfit that Mark was wearing was just, I don't know, there was a Best Buy gift card involved. It was a whole deal. But anyway, it was a kind of a cool little community experience. And like it took longer to do it that way than it would have to just play straight through the album. But I feel like you would have missed out on some of maybe the nuances of the story and the angle at which they were trying to tell it and present it if you had done it that way.
I agree. It was the more complete experience. I tried to
Mhm.
remember to see how many people were watching it at a time, and I think it was somewhere in like the hundreds of thousands of people were watching the live stream
Crazy.
at midnight Eastern time, 9 p.m. here, very early in the morning if you're in Europe. Um, yeah,
That's true.
and yeah, so doing it that way was great, and all the music videos were super fun, and I thought it was cool that that's what they decided to do with this is make all of the songs into music videos and do and present the album in that way because a lot of artists don't do that. The art of the music video has been kind of lost, to be honest, ever since the demise
That's
of
true.
MTV, right? Like
Mhm.
they don't a lot of people do them and a lot of artists will do them and they put a lot of effort into them and but they're not as big as they used to be, I guess.
Maybe it's
So
just
for them,
recency bias from me as well, but I can't recall the last time an artist did a music video for every single song on the album. That
yeah,
like, that
yeah.
just doesn't happen. Usually they pick, a couple select
I mean,
singles or whatever it
only
may
one I
be.
can think of is Beyonce, right? I think she did that for
Oh, the visual album for Lemonade. Yeah.
yeah. I think that was the
Mhm.
closest thing that we've gotten, but yeah,
Mhm.
and they did, and I think Tyler and Josh explained this whether it be online or elsewhere, which is basically uh the each video, some were way more produced than others and some were a little bit more homemade, and that's the kind of made the experience so much cooler, and so it makes this like basically like a visual album in a way, and so yeah, it was really cool to experience it that way. Well, did you have a favorite amongst the music videos,
Mm.
including
Well,
the
kind of to
singles
the
that were released too? We'll put
yeah.
those up for
Kind of to the point that you just made, they're all very different because some of them are produced more as a standalone, some of them are produced more lore-based to advance the story, that were obviously a lot more in your face and visual. Some of them I think were literally just dedicated to making Josh drum in the weirdest places imaginable. Um, I liked oh gosh. I mean, they were all good.
Well, I can let you think. I'll tell you what mine is because I already know. It's
Yeah,
Lavish, dude.
yeah.
Lavish was the best. Lavish was my
That was
favorite.
so cool. That was so cool. It's a silly little song, it's a silly little video, but the amount of work and research that they put into
Hmm.
that to, like, find all those places and go shoot in front of them was crazy. I I think one of my favorites, and this may just be because you and I are sort of old people now in terms of following the band, but I really liked the Craving music video where it was very simple, very stripped back, but showed sort of the progression of um, Tyler and Jenna's relationship through the
Mhm.
years, and even the band, like where they started and how they ended up. And I think they spoke to that a little bit on the live stream, but just playing those really small, crazy venues and trying to bring the energy just as two people and not knowing whether it was going to work. And now getting to be where they are now to ride around in a limo and drink Capri Sun and make the goofiest music video imaginable, but sell out stadium tour, right?
Mhm.
It's crazy to see that arc from the band. So I liked that one from that
I like
perspective.
that one too. That was cute. It's a very cute song. And some people I saw aren't big fans of that song, and like they'll. I see a lot of people are doing rankings of each song, and like some people are
Hmm.
put that dead last. I'm like, why are you putting that dead last? Come on, you can't put that dead
I
last.
no, I can't put that one dead last.
Mm,
That one
mm,
has too much weight emotionally to put that dead
mhm.
last. The music video I would put dead last if we're ranking, and this is just solely by virtue of the fact that it's a placeholder, is the one for Paladin Straight.
Yeah, but
They
that
are
doesn't really count.
still no, I guess it doesn't matter, but I feel like we have to mention it that they're still working on the music video for that, or I don't know, maybe they have a trick up their sleeve about it that they're just not ready to tell us yet, but either way, they released
Yeah.
a little placeholder.
Yeah, I think they were originally going to release it at the same time, but I think they know this, that if they released it the same day, it was gonna like steal the spotlight from the rest of the album and the music. And so they wanted to wait so that way we could digest the actual music first, and then they're gonna put out the music video. So that way it completes the um, it gives us a better experience. Whereas what we were all going to be talking about that music video first rather than the music for the rest of the album, in my opinion.
That's true. Yeah, I could definitely see that. I think either way, and we'll talk about this because I think we're gonna go into each track more in depth here in a minute, but I think the way that that song ended was always gonna be a point of contention because it felt like a little gotcha moment. It was like a post-credit scene
Yeah,
where you
yeah,
thought that you had heard everything and that was the way that it was gonna end, and then all of a sudden there's a very different note and a very different change at the end. And even Tyler was being all cryptic on the live stream, but he's like, "We're gonna play this video while you watch it. You're not gonna come back to us. We're not gonna explain it. We're not gonna talk about it. But I want you guys to listen to this and decide if it really sounds like the end of the story." And then they
hmm
cut away and they played the video, and we were all like, "What just happened? What did they get us with? They got us with an Avengers Endgame post credit
yeah,
scene."
yeah.
It was crazy. Yeah.
hmm Yeah, we'll get into that in just a minute. So,
Mm,
all right, let's get into some of the songs on the record here.
let's do it.
Um, First off, as we you and I discussed in our text, which is something that was a big difference from their albums of the past and albums in general. On the first listen, I think you and I both agreed that there wasn't any songs that really stood out as being skips for the most part on a first listen. Whereas I know you had a different experience with Scale and Icy than I did on first listen. I love Scale and
Mhm.
Icy, still do. There was there were a couple songs on there that took me a few listens to kind of get into and really enjoy more and more, especially through the live show experience that was like Takeover Tour and Icy Tour really helped with that as well.
Sure.
But with
Yeah.
this album with Clancy, like it was just as a cohesive album, there's to me, and then we say this a lot as a joke. There's it's a no skip album, but I truly mean that here. Like you can listen to this record front to back, and every single song is enjoyable, and you're not like, oh, I gotta listen to this song, need to skip. You know, I didn't feel any of that, and I still don't. And I've listened to the album like 4 or 5 times, and most of the time,
Yeah.
generally, I'm gonna listen to it front to back all the way through.
Yep. I absolutely agree with you. I think that maybe has something to do with the way that we were talking about it earlier, is just it you getting to experience it quote unquote live in a different way with the band doing their intros and doing their explanations and doing the music videos makes a big difference, because I know tons of people, myself included, that don't love a song and then you see it played live and your opinion on it changes, or you take a different approach on your interpretation of it and your opinion of it changes. Um, I remember hitting play on Scaled and Icy, and the first song on it was Good Day, and I was like,
Mm-hmm.
"Oh my god, please don't let the whole album be like this." Um, it's still not one of my favorites. I won't skip it per se, but I think the closest record to this that I can remember liking all the way through on first listen is, I mean, going back to Vessel, going back to Blurry Face. There were even a
Mm-hmm.
few on Trench that I was like kind of hesitant about at first. That one was a little, but it's just very easy on the ears. It's very enjoyable all the way through. Um, it's There are some like pivot points, for lack of, I don't know what I'm exactly trying to say, but the tone and the vibe does shift a couple of times through. It's not necessarily an auditory narrative experience, not in a linear kind of straight line all the way through where things make a lot of sense or you have to listen to them in a certain order, I guess is a better way to put that. You can shuffle this album and like it the same way
Mm-hmm.
that you can if you listen to it front to back the way that it was ordered. You won't miss anything. You won't lose out on anything. There's not a woven narrative where you can't listen to it in a particular order. But yeah, I think I don't know exactly where I was going with it, but just it's enjoyable regardless of the way that you choose to listen to it. And that's speaking independently as well of the definitely three, and then kind of the fourth song that we got just before the release, because we got a block of singles first.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so those obviously we had time to experience, and they didn't even include those in the live stream. They just played those videos straight through right before they started, which was also nice. So like if you hadn't seen them in a while, you could catch up on them. If you
Mm-hmm.
had, it didn't detract from the time that they were giving to the new stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which they lied to us, by the way. They were like, "Oh yeah, we'll be live at 11:45 p.m. Eastern." So all of
No,
us
they started
idiots
playing the old videos at
jumped on
11:45 and
at quarter till and was like, "Where are they?
mhm.
They're late."
They
Oh no,
said, "Psych,
they're just
it's midnight."
they're just
Psych.
playing the they're just playing the already released tracks
The B-roll, yeah.
to get a, to get us excited for for the rest of the record. All
Mhm.
right, songs that stood out to you so far. I have a couple. I'll go first here. Um,
Yeah.
and again, it's like it's so tough to pick favorites, but there are a few that like I've either been vibing to more or I've had stuck in my head for the last couple
Worth
days. And
noting
they're
also, worth noting,
mhm,
this is like our very early appraisal of this because it's Sunday, the album released on Friday.
mhm.
So again, with the exception of the 3 or 4 that we already kinda had a chance to sit and digest, this is early rankings, subject to change. Proceed.
That's so true. So the song that I think I've played the most so far is Routines in the Night.
I knew that was coming from
Uh
you because you texted me yesterday about it. You were like, "I just can't stop listening to that one."
I can't. It's like it's so damn catchy, dude. Like it's
It
just
is.
like it's one of it's an earworm type of song, and
Mhm.
the lyrics are cool. The imagery of kind of navigating through um your mind as you're sleepless at night essentially is kind of what the song is really making you picture, is just is a really interesting idea, and yeah, I love this song, and I love the fact too that in a way it's kind of mirrored. And I don't know if you caught onto this too. There's a couple songs to me that did this, which is Routines in the Night and Snap, or not Snapback, sorry. Routines in the Night and Navigating are kind of like almost like sister songs in a way, because they deal with very similar type of imagery in a way, like
Mm-hmm.
navigating through somebody's head basically and trying to get kind of map it out in a way, I guess, for lack of a better term. So yeah, that was the song that stood out for me, Routines in the Night. And then that the entire like back half of this record, every time I listen to it, I'm like, man, this is so good. Starting with Lavish, which is we've already talked about, is just fun as hell. And
Lavish
this will
is
give me
so
a chance.
fun.
This will give me a chance to talk about the best flipping lyric on the entire record.
The line. Yeah. The line. I heard they cut that line from the radio.
Really?
Mm-hmm. I don't know if it's true
Why?
because I haven't heard it on the. I don't know, but I heard they cut that line from the radio. It's
Oh
so out of
man,
pocket,
it
Tyler. It's
is.
out of pocket.
All right, so
We
I'm gonna
love it,
read
but
it
it's
here.
out of pocket.
It
Yeah, yeah.
is, and we still don't really understand what in the world Tyler meant by this. I hope he gets
I'm
explains
not
maybe at the
trying to
live
read
show.
too much into this one.
He said
I'm
the
gonna let that
lyric in the
go.
song: "Keep it cool, keep the mood androgynous. I see your problem is your proctologist got both hands on your shoulder while you're bottomless." Tyler Joseph, what are you doing? Why are you using proctologist as a lyric in a song?
Tyler, this is a family show. I'm just kidding. You do whatever you want. But so
And the
funny though, so unexpected.
and the funny part about that is if you go to the Genius lyrics, have you
Is
seen that?
that
You've
still
seen
up
this?
there?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It's the Genius annotation for that lyric is I cannot for the life of me fathom what he could possibly mean by this. How is this a real lyric that made it onto the album?
How did this make it onto a 21 Pilots album in the year 2024? Yeah, crazy stuff. Crazy stuff coming out of the mind of Tyler Joseph.
So
That's
yeah, so the
absolutely nuts.
entire back half of this record I love. Um so like I said, lavish into navigating, snapback, oldie station at the risk of feeling dumb and pallid and straight. Like that in itself is just an A plus songs from top to bottom. I love every single one of them for different reasons. Um and I'll shout out navigating here. I know you like that one too. Um the
That
thing I
one's a
love
hit.
about the thing I love about navigating is it starts out almost like a metal song in a way. It starts out that way and it kind of morphs into this um uh, kind of keeping in theme in a way with next semester, how it's got a little bit more punk vibes to it. It kind
Yeah,
of
I
keeps
think
that energy
between
up through the
those,
entire
yeah,
song.
I saw somebody say this, but between those two tracks, this is like the closest we've got to 21 Pilots going pure pop punk with a
Hmm.
song on a record. It's so catchy. I will tell you this album has some damn hooks on it. It has some
Hmm.
earworms. There are some tracks in here that are just like this melody is crazy. It has such a good hook and it just gets you caught into it. It's very blurry face about the the sound and the strategy that they take about it, and I think that's what I love about it. Is it feels like the closest thing to older 21 Pilots while still kind of maintaining this evolution of their sound to the point that we know it now.
Hmm. Yeah, so those are my like those are some of the those are like my three standouts. Routines of the Night, Lavish, and Navigating. I think are probably my three favorites so far. Um, with pretty much all the other ones I love as well. Like I don't think there's a song here that I dislike at
Mhm.
all. There's the only one I think that I'm still trying to like wrap my brain around and being one that I really enjoy so far is Midwest Indigo. That's the one that's like I'm still trying to like dig my teeth into. But other than
See, that's
that,
funny because that one was an instant hit for me. I love that one.
mhm, mhm,
Yeah. But and to your point, but I find this interesting. I'm on Spotify right now in the background. Um the first half of the album, which I guess this makes sense because it's been out longest with the first 3 tracks, but the first half of the album is much more streamed than the back
mhm,
half. Snapback, Oldie Station, At the Risk of Feeling Dumb, and Paladin Straight all have significantly fewer streams than the first 9 tracks, with the exception of The Craving, which I guess makes sense based on what we've kind of seen the initial reception be for that one. But that's wild to me. That's like your favorite part of the album, and it's less streamed than the front half. I don't know. People's experiences with music are very different.
Exactly, but I think that's how most albums are anymore. Is people because they press play and they'll press play on the first track, and their drives, they're only 30, 35 minutes long, and you don't have time to get through
That's true.
the rest of
Yeah,
the
that makes
album. So I
sense.
think that's kind of a general, I think, rule amongst most albums anyway. But so yeah, I
And if your
gave
commute
you
to work is at least 45 minutes, you should think about changing that.
yeah, speaking
Mm.
from someone who used to do that 5 days a week. Not fun. Yeah, not fun.
Crazy.
Not,
Yeah,
not,
crazy.
not fun at all. All right, so I gave you kind of my top ones.
Mhm.
We already mentioned navigating. Any more that
Mhm.
really stood out for you?
Navigating is a bomb for me. That's my major winner. I can't get it out of my head. It's just there's something about it. Midwest Indigo was a standout for me. I felt very seen, both by the lyrics about scraping ice off your windshield in the morning and Tyler on hockey skates in the music video. I felt like that was very much for me personally. um, and then what else? I'm looking at the track list right now. At the Risk of Feeling Dumb is a big one for me as well. That's the second to last track on the album. Like I said, some of these just have such a hook about them that it's hard not to get the little earworm in your head about it. I think of all of the tracks on the album, if I had to narrow it down, I Overcompensate is definitely a standout for me, and I think we've talked about this on a prior episode of the show, maybe. I just have such a feeling that that's gonna be the tour opener for this circuit this time
Mm-hmm.
around. It just sounds like it has the energy, it fits in that kind of characteristic vein of like a Heavy Dirty Soul, a Jumpsuit, just a high energy tour opener. Um, even it even kind of fits with No Chances because I Good Day is sort of an interesting tour opener to point out, but um, yeah, I think some of those more high energy songs definitely make the cut for me. I really liked The Craving. That one is still kind of in my head. Um, both versions of it, but I do like the album version, like Jenna's version, better
Mm-hmm.
than the single version, which is the one that they released the music video for. So there's two different versions of that, which is also kind of a fun little thing. What There was a song, I'm struggling to remember what it is. I'm gonna have to go look. Which one did they say that they had 54 versions of?
Ooh. Oh
Ah,
gosh,
dang
yeah.
it, hold on. I
Mm,
texted my dad, hold on. It
I was.
said casually
I think it
dropping in
was.
that there were 50 versions of
I
that
think it
song.
was at the very end of the thing. So it may have been Snapback.
It was one of the last 3
Yeah.
tracks. It was
Mm-hmm.
Snapback, it was Oldie Station, it was At the Risk of Feeling Dumb. I'm trying to look, because I'm in I'm in the texts with my dad, and we've said that, he says, "I bet Oldie Station will grow on me." I said, "The record is easy to like on first listen." And then 7 minutes later, I said, casually dropping in that there were 54 versions of that song. So I think it has to maybe be At the Risk of Feeling Dumb?
At the Risk of Feeling Dumb. That's what Twitter says. Yes.
Okay. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that is crazy. That is production magic. If you're really interested in the production side of it, like Richie and I are, there's some stuff that's out there that Paul Meany, who's in the band Mute Math, who's a longtime 21 Pilots collaborator, um, there's some sort of deconstructed bits of this album that he's gone through and shown the software and how they actually split this in production and made the record, and some of it is really really cool. So if you're interested in sort of sonically how they put some of these songs together, Go and look that stuff up because some of the little tips and tricks that they did are just crazy. It's just artistry. It's what we talked about last week with Billy and Phineas.
Mhm.
Some of the things that these producers are able to do is just it's just magic.
It
How
is
you
true.
take an
That's like the
idea
one
and you
through
make it
line
into this.
amongst some of our favorite artists is who is producing the records, right? We have um obviously Tyler and Paul Meany, obviously that duo. We have Jack
Mhm,
Antonoff, we have Billy and Phineas, we have
mhm.
Julian Baker, who has
Aaron
produced all of her
Dessner.
records previously. Yes, Aaron Dessner,
Yep.
Naomi McPherson from Muna, right? Like all these
Yes.
people,
Muna is all self-produced. Yeah. It's crazy.
um, a lot of times will self-produce their stuff, and it's excellent. Uh, so it's like the one through line between all of our most of our music uh, taste is having that like producer who can really kick things up.
And that's definitely if you're using someone as a producer, it speaks to having a really good relationship with them and a knowledge and sort of a trust that they're gonna be able to convey exactly what you wanna do. And if you're producing it yourself, it's such an asset in the way that you can make it sound exactly the way you want to convey the emotion that you're trying to feel, um, and to shape it in that way. So it's really impressive when people like Taylor Swift are able to collaborate with producers that can turn out this product that is exactly what she was trying to say and exactly how they were trying to convey it. And then you strip it back and you get, very smaller operations like Billy and Phineas, smaller operations like 21 Pilots, and it's just a very tight knit circle with an understanding of the sound and the message, and that's really cool. It's two different approaches, but when you have success in it, and it, for lack of a better word, it kind of strips away the commercialization of the product. I think sometimes with some of these bigger artists, like I don't mean to hate on Dua Lipa's record because I think I've done this the last couple of weeks, but the sound of it is very kind of sterile, top 40, produced for pop radio, doesn't really take that many chances. It's fine sonically, but it's not anything impressive, and sometimes you get these records that do stuff that's different, and they take a swing at it, and they try and make it sound a certain way, and you get an awesome product as a result. So,
Mm-hmm.
this is one of those.
That's
Sounds great.
absolutely. That's like one of the better things about this record is like, and it's just something that Tyler's done. I think throughout 21 Pilots discography is he's able to weave in and out of different types of genres so easily, right? Like he's got a little bit
Mhm.
more some, like in Lavish is one of them, he's got a little bit more like hip hop flow to his lyrics and the way he uses his voice and basically gets into rap half the time, right? And some of these songs are just really cool. And then you have your more of your pop stuff, and then you have Craving, which is jamming on a ukulele, right? Which we should mention that as well. Tyler loves his ukulele, folks. I don't know if I've seen a person who loves the uke more than Tyler Joseph loves plucking his ukulele because
That's
not only
true.
I'm
Tyler
only
Joseph's Tyler Joseph's cover of "Can't Help Falling in Love" on the ukulele, single-handedly inspired a whole new generation of people that fell in love with the uke as an instrument, myself included. Um, yeah, it's crazy. That's an instrument that you would not expect, and it's hidden and it's layered in the background of stuff, even if it's not prominently featured. My dad said this, but he's like, "This is a uke record," and it's great.
yeah. Next semester, you mentioned the Paul Meany production thing. He kind of went through
Mhm,
this. Tyler mentioned on the live stream as well. When he was playing next semester live on the ukulele, and that's how that song was written. And you go listen to the produced version of that song and you cannot tell for a second that that is a ukulele track that they use. That is then when we hear it on the record is sounds like a punk rock song, but it was
Mhm. It's
created
been
entirely
crazy
on the uke, which is
post-processed
so
with
cool. Yeah.
layers of ukulele and
Mhm.
processing to make it sound like a guitar and a bass and a full band and the depth, and that's crazy. I don't know.
Mhm.
I
Just
would
make sure
love
for
to spend just a day in their brain
yeah.
to understand what they go through when they produce something like this. I think Paul said it in that breakdown. He's like, sometimes you realize it's just time to get out of the chair and step away and let Tyler work his magic because that happens.
And Tyler mentioned on the live stream he wasn't sure if he wanted to play next semester on the ukulele or do it in another way. I was like, Tyler, please play next semester on the ukulele live. That would be sick. That would be really cool.
We also I we're not giving enough credit to Josh Dunn's drums here and the
Yes.
evolution of Josh Dunn's drums over the last couple of records. Like that is I mean, percussion is the heart and soul of a good track, but he really puts something different into it. Um, we saw it a little bit on the last record. He's coming up with these like pockets and kind of um, different intervals on the drums and irregular intervals and things like that that just give it more flavor and give it more heart and give it just a different level um, than what you could get with just your standard, your silly little drum pad that's all digital. And people
Mhm.
are doing that nowadays. It's very easily accessible, but it takes away from what a real talented, skilled, awesome drummer can give your track and give your band, and that is Josh. So we need to give a lot of credit to Josh as well.
Yes, we do. Cannot forget about good old Josh Dunn. By the way,
Josh done.
going back to the music videos. I believe it was I think it was routines in the night. Yeah, I think it was the routines in the night music video where they just put Josh in like a cupboard, like
They
he's
did.
Harry Potter
They
under
put
the
him in the
stairs.
closet under the stairs, number 4 Privet Drive. Yeah.
Which
Crazy.
I could not stop laughing about that. And I think that's the reason why we found out later that in the background we get some hints towards the lore, and you can spy some bishop's robes there, and you can
Mhm.
spy one of the bishops behind Josh in one of the shots, which I did not see at first until later because I was too busy while watching the music video for the first time trying to figure out where Josh was half the time.
I thought I was going crazy seeing that shadow in the background, and I was, like, on my computer. Because I had the brightness kinda down because it was, midnight. I'm like, I'm not trying to blast myself with blue light at midnight and then not go to sleep." Um, so I, like, cranked my brightness up. I was like, "What was that?" Like, was that just a little visual anomaly? Am I sleep deprived? Like, what is this? But I swore that there was something in the background and it never showed up again. But you sent me a still image or a
Hmm.
text or something, and you were like, there's literally a bishop in the background. I was like, I am not going crazy. I knew I saw something. Um, I wasn't counting the robes. Somebody counted, and there's only 8 in the background, and there's 9 bishops in the lore. Um, but yeah, it was that whole music video as well, like, going back to that, it gave me very, Fairly Local music video vibes.
Hmm.
I don't know if you remember that one, but it again, just, more visually low key than some of the story-based music videos, but still super cool that they were just at one location in different rooms and different setups and managing to create a flow through that set, as it were. It was very much giving Fairly Local, especially the point where we pan in on Tyler and just for a minute his eyes are red and you're like, okay,
Hmm.
there's something weird happening here. And it may not have been intended to advance the story so much in that way, but people who were very perceptive about it clearly picked up on it immediately. People are still finding stuff on Twitter that are going through and deep diving all of it. Um, yeah, the fans are loyal to this band.
Yes, indeed. So we got 10 minutes left here. Perfect time to wrap up the show with our theories on what might be happening next, and you teased this
Mhm.
earlier on the show. This is called um, is it? I don't even know what it's called, but it's anyway. Yeah, we'll just move on to. I've been up since 6 o'clock in the morning, folks. Okay, this is not.
Yeah, for
I
the
think I.
world's most boring Grand Prix. We'll talk about that
Mm-hmm.
on the next episode. Whatever.
That'll be for another day.
We don't have time to
So.
unpack all of this.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so Paladin Straight. This is the record closer. Jordan mentioned this earlier in the episode. Um, Paladin Strait is the name of a body of water in the near the continent of Trench, which, of course, as we already talked about earlier in the show, so that's where the name comes from. Well, song finishes up, um, and we get some birds chirping for like a minute straight, and we're like, okay, well, this is a fun way to end the record, I guess, having chirping birds, adorable. And then we get a part two. We get the credit scene here. So we get um Tyler back on his ukulele again, shocker. On the ground are banditos fighting while I find Nico, even though I'm past the point of no return. Climb the top of the tower. Show yourself, I yell louder, even though I'm past the point of no. Gets cut off, and we hear the voice of Nico, and he says, "So few, so proud, so emotional. Hello, Clancy. Record over."
That's a crazy ending. To literally give us a cliffhanger, like, gosh dang it, you guys. Hate that. I love it, but I hate it. Yeah, and to build it up on the live stream and be like, "Well, you tell me if this sounds like the end of the record." You're like, "Clearly not, Mr. Joseph," but like I don't live in your head. Where are we going with this? Um Lots of theories abounding about this. Especially going back to the Clancy letters, because there were two chunks of Clancy letters. The first of which were published, I think, in 2018. The second of which were 2022, maybe ish. I might have my dates wrong on that, but anyway, there was enough time elapsed that we sort of had radio silence from this individual that was Clancy. And the first batch of letters was it was almost essentially, so it was talking about life in this fictional city of Dima, but it also narrated the events of the jumpsuit music video from a second person perspective. So it's very easy to tell at that point that Clancy and Tyler were separate individuals. Because it was like, here is this as I see it happening. It was like he was watching all of the events of the jumpsuit music video. It was like talking about Nico riding up on the horse and all that big deal. Um, and then it was radio silence, and then a couple of years pass and we get more Clancy letters, but it seems to be a change of narrator where it was sort of the letters were a little different in topic, in perspective. And somebody pointed out that even the album title Scaled and Icy is an anagram for Clancy is dead. And so there's now maybe a theory that our original Clancy narrator is no more. And that it's less so Tyler is Clancy. I think the way that the fans seem to be leaning with the narrative is like he has assumed that name as sort of a tribute to that person and to carry on Clancy's mission of being an escapee,
Yeah, it's the
of
I am
teaching people
Spartacus
about
idea, kind
yeah,
of. Mhm.
yeah, and like teaching people about um the freedom outside of Dima and outside of the bishop's teachings, as it were, being like, hey, there's a whole nother world out here that's different and you don't have to live by this code. So it's more of like a are we our Clancy kind of deal, just as that we represent something bigger than ourselves, and this is the name that we're choosing to give it to honor this fictional protagonist. I like that angle, and I think you can totally see that too in some of the lyrics. That's even back in Overcompensate. It's like if you can't see, I'm Clancy. So it's like just sort of trying to wrap it up neatly, but that there's definitely more to tell about maybe a larger rebellion or something like that. People are talking about a double album, but like, goodness gracious, not everything is a double album.
I don't. Yeah,
Please.
I don't foresee there being any more music. I was thinking about this last night because I knew we were going to talk about it, and I think the Paladin Straight music video obviously is going to tell us a lot here,
Hmm.
and I think we're going to get what I believe is that I'll take two tacks with this. One, we either get a resolution to the story on the tour, which I think would be great, and I think it would be a really cool way to wrap everything up. Um, or it is Inception style, which is more or less it's a cliffhanger, but you kind of get to decide what's going on here, type of thing, in a way.
I also can see it being like it closes the loop, but maybe the story isn't ever really over. So then, you
I've
go
seen
back
some
to the
people say that
beginning,
too.
you repeat the cycle. I I'm just gonna say at very face value here as somebody who isn't fully invested in the lore. To me, it almost just felt like the band giving us a nod that's like, hey, we're not done yet. We're not done making music. Don't freak out. Like, this isn't the end of everything, even though, like, realistically, we're probably approaching that. Like, both of them are married. Tyler has a big family now, and obviously that's going to become a priority. Um, but it almost just kind of felt like a wink to us, too. That's like, hey, there's still more to come. Stay with us. We still love what we do and this world that we've made around these records, and it's not the end of the story, and it's also not the end of our story that we're telling as a band.
hmm I can see that too. I can see that in between the lines as well.
Yeah.
Let's see. I don't really think we have much else to talk about in terms of this, but there's one more thing I want to ask you, which is the significance of the red tape. Have you seen the
Mhm.
color of the album is obviously red, as we previously talked about, and
Right.
that the red tape is kind of the signal, I guess, or the however you want to refer to it as this album cycle, and we
Mhm.
see it in the Overcompensate music video, and we also see it in the Navigating music video as well. I'm still
Mhm.
trying to figure out what the significance of the red tape is. I still don't
I
really
haven't
understand
Yeah, I
why
haven't
the
fully
Banditos are
processed.
yellow, but Clancy is red. That's the way I read into it. Is that Clancy is more or less the leader of the Banditos, and so Banditos have the color yellow, but
Mhm.
Clancy's color is red, and so um, that red has a significance to which we hopefully will learn at some point, which we haven't quite pinpointed.
Here's my initial thought, and I may be way off base on this once we decide where it came from, but I think canonically we said that the Banditos wore yellow because that was a color that the bishops couldn't see. So it was sort of their way to distinguish themselves sort of invisibly as rebels to the cause. Um, the bishop's robes are red,
Mm-hmm.
obviously. Um, but there's also a line back in Chlorine where they specifically mention Rebel Red. Um, so I'm wondering if we've evolved to the point now in sort of the Banditos rebellion that they're willing to be seen and be identified, and it's more of a statement to do so, because it's like we're not hiding from you anymore.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're gonna tell you that we're out here and we don't stand for what you stand for, and we're willing to push back. So I wonder if we're gonna see a transition of more of that like military style trench apparel into black and red.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see. It may have just
Again,
been a
something that
fun color scheme.
yeah, something that again
It's a color
we
that we
could get a
haven't seen.
resolution to during the tour because they are good. 21 Pod shows, they still kind of keep that narrative flow going into their live shows as well. So
It's true, yeah.
so
There
we'll
tends to be a story woven through the tour, um, and as someone who has attended 7 of those so far, I feel entitled to say that, which is crazy, by the way, that it's gonna almost be 10 by the time this album cycle is done.
hmm
It's like, that's nuts. I would also
yeah,
like
I
to shout out, 'cause I think I would be, my dad is a huge fan, and we've gone to the last, like, 5 shows together, um, so he'll be coming up on his 7th show, which is wild. Like, I don't my dad loves this silly band. Like, it's so fun, and I think his favorite track is Next Semester. I don't know if it's changed, at least it was, but
hmm
that was, like, that's his vibe song, so when you guys see that come up on my Spotify Wrapped at the end of the year, just know that that was probably his doing.
All right, let's wrap it up here. Um, I think we kind of did this with Taylor a little bit. We did it a little bit with Billy too. Um, so far, where does this album Clancy rank in terms of your favorite Pilot's album so far?
It depends on the day. It's gonna be very hard to unseat Vessel from number 1 and Blurry Face from number 2 for me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then I think the rest of that is more mutable after that. So it depends. I need to sit with it a little bit more. Um, I really like the sound of this on first glance. So I think it jumps over Scaled and Icy for me, maybe in the number 3, number 4 range. And then I don't know if we're counting the EPs and stuff, that could change too. But
I would say after 72 hours or so of listening to it, I would probably go. I love Scaled and Icy. Previously, that I would have said that's my favorite. I think this one probably leaps it, and then
mhm.
I'd probably go Blurry Face 3, and then Trench 4, and then Vessel is. I haven't listened to Vessel enough as in a complete album to really like rank it somewhere. So those would be that would be my ranking. I think.
Okay. Well, that's your homework because that's a bad take until you listen to Vessel all the way through.
I have. It's just been a while, and so I haven't spent as much time with that album as I have Blurry Face and Trench and Scale Nicey and this album as well. So
That's your homework. Assigned. Summer reading.
assigned. Mm-hmm. All right, everybody. That's it for this show. 1 hour on one album,
That's
so we
not
can just
bad.
change the
That's not
we can
bad.
change the name of the show to 1 hour, one album. Shout out to Nathan and Nora at Every Single Album, who we just stole their concept, but instead of talking about Taylor Swift or Billie Eilish or Dua Lipa, we're talking about the
Yeah,
Pilots. So
we're not doing it as well as they're doing it, so
no,
we should just stay out of that.
absolutely, absolutely not. Follow us on your internets at OHOBC Pod, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, all that good stuff. Are we out of TikTok jail yet?
Probably not. Well, we seem to be out of TikTok jail when I post it from my phone, but if I queue it on TikTok, we get like 2 views. I hate it here. Jail.
All right. For Jordan and I have been Richie. Thank you for listening to the show. We'll be back next time with, I believe, an entire episode. Or hell, I don't even know what we're gonna do. Just listen, and we'll talk about something or other. I guess I don't know. Who knows? I don't at this point. Again, I've been up
It could
since
be
6
anything.
o'clock, folks. I have no idea. I've
Yep.
had I don't even know how much caffeine I've had. Didn't have ice this morning, so I had to make my coffee without ice. That was
He said he
yeah.
had to drink it raw. He said he had to drink his espresso raw. What do you mean raw? Get out of here. Go home.
Bye.